medieval thinkers, those opposed to the Protestant Reformation, at Westminster Bookstore, the campus bookstore for Westminster Seminary, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, well, they're at it again. They're attacking Sola Scriptura. How, you might ask? Well, they're now pushing a book titled Shapers of Christian Orthodoxy, Engaging with Early and Medieval Theologians by Bradley G. Green. You see here a picture of the book. Notice a Dominican monk, possibly Aquinas. He's holding a church in one hand and the scriptures in the other. He's pushing, obviously, for tradition and scripture, not Sola Scriptura. Westminster Bookstore provides us with the two following endorsements. Quote, "It remains the case that there are few entry-level guides to the great thinkers of the early and medieval church, which are specifically designed to help evangelicals come to a better understanding of the origins of their thinking. For this reason, this collection of essays is most welcome, as it not only provides the reader with helpful introductions to the thought of key theologians, but also opens up avenues of further exploration for those interested in probing deeper into the great resources of the wider Christian tradition." End quote. That one comes from Carl Truman, professor, church history, Westminster Theological Seminary. John Calvin, in his prefatory address to the King of France, found in most copies of the Institutes of the Christian Religion, absolutely repudiated tradition as an authority. He said it was a fallacy. But I guess they're not teaching that at Westminster Seminary anymore. Also, in that prefatory address to the King of France, John Calvin demonstrates that the so-called church fathers not only contradicted each other, but even themselves. They are not a source of theology for Christianity, certainly not for biblical Christianity. Sola Scriptura, the Bible alone, is our only source for Christian doctrine. Let me just go ahead and read Calvin to you. Calvin writes the following, quote, "Still, in studying their writings," this is the so-called church fathers, "we have endeavored to remember that all things are ours, to serve, not lord it over us, but that we are Christ's only, solus Christus, and must obey him in all things, without exception. He who does not draw this distinction will not have any fixed principles in religion, for those holy men were ignorant of many things, are often opposed to each other, and are sometimes at variance with themselves." End quote. That was Calvin to the King of France. He didn't hold to church tradition. He taught Sola Scriptura. He taught the five solas. It's not just the Calvinists that reject tradition as authoritative. In Calvinism, we don't have tradition, we have Sola Scriptura. But also your confessional Lutherans reject the authority of church fathers and tradition. Francis Pieper, discussing C.F.W. Walther's position on Sola Scriptura, writes the following in his Christian Dogmatics, quote, "For Walther, neither the old dogmaticians nor the symbols, but scriptures decide the issues." End quote. Sola Scriptura, people. Well, let's go ahead and read the second endorsement from that's provided by Westminster Bookstore on this new Roman Catholic book and see what they got to say. Paul Helm states the following, and I quote, "It is not possible to understand the theology of the Reformation or of the Puritan movement or of evangelicalism more generally without recognizing that these movements consciously built not only upon Scripture, but on a conciliar, patristic, and early medieval foundation. At the Reformation, this tradition was deliberately purified, not overthrown." End quote. That was from Paul Helm, Regent College. Did you get that, everybody? Did you get that? You can't even understand the Bible without Roman Catholic tradition, according to Paul Helm. Why, Calvin and Luther, they didn't get rid of the double foundation of the Catholic Church, tradition and Scripture. They just purified it. Well, yeah, of course. What was there even a Reformation about? I mean, hey, they just purified it. Why even leave the Catholic Church? I don't know. Please. What kind of a jackass makes statements like this except the type of individual who wants to deceive the foolish? And that's the only person that's going to deceive, ladies and gentlemen. You got to be an ignoramus if you think this guy's telling the truth. Just go get Luther, go get Calvin, read for yourself. They did not try to purify the Roman Catholic tradition. They got rid of it. Luther tossed Aquinas out on his ass, and that's the way it was. And they didn't sit there and play kissy-poo with the authority of the Pope. They got rid of all that. Luther identified the Pope as Antichrist. He did not consider him infallible. He did not consider the Church Fathers worthy of reverence. He didn't consider their writings authoritative. They got rid of that nonsense. And if you're going to be dumb and listen to these Westminster people over here at Westminster Seminary, Philadelphia, you're going to be led right back into the Dark Ages. So you do what you will, people.